Hey everybody, welcome here. We are with Sandy. Hello, Sandy. And this is Matt. And what we're going to do here in this video, we are going to share a document. And so we're going to ask Matt some questions, kind of interview style. So bear with us. And we don't consider ourselves professionals, but that is a good thing, I guess. So you guys can't critique us. But we'll get started here. So first question, and we're gonna pull this document up, but we're gonna ask Matt, and I'll start. Matt, can you tell us about this document and what it is?
Yes, so this is what's referred to as a lawful notice. It can be used as a form of evidence in the courts, and its purpose is to educate and instruct our elected servants by showing the people's grievances and to demand redress. And the other purpose is that it serves as a way of informing the public of something that might be going on that they're unaware of. Not everyone always knows the issues, and so it can serve multiple purposes.
Right. Okay, real good. Well, what we'll do, Matt, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and dive into the notice here, and the people will see the title of it. And if you want to go ahead and start that reading, and we'll go from there.
You bet. So when a person signs the notice electronically, it'll insert their name in the space after the I. So it would read, for instance, if I were filling out the notice, it would read I, Matt Allner, one of the people of the 50 American states, as seen in the Colorado Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, sui juris. I'm serving you this notice that you and your agents may provide the people with immediate due care. So it's, again, this is being sent out to the entity you would have a grievance with, if you will. And in particular, this is my notice that I'm sending to our school district where I live because of the issues going on regarding the LGBTQ plus ideology that's going on in my daughter's district. So as you kind of continue down the notice, it'll state,
Hey,
please take
Matt,
notice.
can,
Yes,
can I interrupt you a minute before you go on? Let's just
sure,
talk a
Sandy.
little bit about sui juris so people understand that when they write their name next to I, their full Christian name should be signed there if they choose to sign this notice. The word sui juris basically is a terminology that means that you're coming on your own at your own free will, and you're going, and that you understand this document, and you're making a choice whether you want to sign this document or not, but you're not being coerced or anything like that. Matt, did you want to add anything to that, or Jill?
No, that's
No,
that's great.
yeah, thanks for inserting that, Sandy, because
Sure, no problem.
You and Jill are the ones that know this a lot better than I do. I'm still a student learning, and I just had the courage enough to push this in my district. So thank you. That was great.
Yeah,
We're glad to help the people of your district and
yeah.
you.
And real quickly, because you guys at the beginning, we did want to give credit to where credit is due. Matt does talk about us being students. All three of us, while we have a history of how God brought us together, ultimately we have what's in common now as we are students of Dave Jose. And this is his remedy process using these notices and affidavits. This particular one is definitely a notice, but that's what unites the three of us right now as the people. And so we just wanted to share that and give credit to Dave Jose, our teacher. We're very thankful for him, and we are taking classes of his and watching free education that he's provided on his site. So sorry, guys, I wanted to insert that real quick because Matt, you talked about being a student. So we,
Yeah, and Dave's information is free to all the people of all 50 states should they want to learn their constitutional rights.
Mhm.
And Matt will connect you with a link on that later on as we continue. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry about that little
That's
interruption.
okay. No, those are good inserts. This is an organic process, so we're gonna just roll with it. This is good. So back to the notice, and continuing down. So it says, please take notice that all political power is inherent in the people by decree of God, and no power can exist except to be deprived from them. The main object of government is only instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people and upholding the law of God. We, the people, have the right to alter or reform our government at any time the public good may require it. So this is important, obviously, because we're establishing here what our role is as the people, and where the power that the people that tend to think they can ignore us, where that power comes from. And
Exactly.
they have no authority. They have no authority other than the authority that's given by us, and that authority comes to us from God himself. So we're just redirecting the our public servants to understand what their role is and what our responsibility is in our roles as well. So moving on and doing that to show them where we get those rights. In the Colorado Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, is titled Vestment of Political Power. It states that all political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government of right originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. Now, right after this in our notice, we are inserting what are called maxims. There's two maxims of law, 51O and 51P, that I'll read in just a moment. We're not going to dive into the maxims in this particular video, but there will be one forthcoming here soon where we'll explain more about that and go into more depth, because the maxims are very, very powerful. They're very important for any of you that have taken science classes when you were younger or even older. If you learned about Newton's laws of motion, if you've studied scientific laws such as the law of gravity, the law of matter. Matter can't be created or destroyed. Scientific laws have stood the test of time, and that's what these are. But again, we'll go into more detail on those later. But for now, the insert with maxims is that maxims of law by Charles A. Wiseman are fundamental principles of law that are universally accepted as being true rules and principles of law. Maxim of Law 51O. All political power is inherent in the people by decree of God. Thus, none can exist except to be deprived from them. Maxim of Law 51P says the main object of government is the protection and preservation of personal rights, private property, and public liberties, and upholding the law of God. Now, again, the reason we put these two maxims here to give added support not only to the Constitution, but the first statement that I read under the sui juris statement, where a person's coming on their own to sign and do and sign and support the notice. Moving further down, please take notice that the people have assembled in a peaceable manner to consult for their common good, to educate and instruct their elected servants, and to apply for redress of grievances. There are hundreds of people who have signed a petition stating the same grievance. Now, you won't see the petition in this notice, but the notice has been aligned with the petition, because the process that we've taken here is I originally brought my grievance in the form of a request for a meeting, and then that evolved into a short email just explaining what I wanted to talk about, and then some phone calls, and then some face-to-face meetings, both with the district admin and then separately with two of the board members. In those meetings, I discussed the law without going into much detail, just to make sure they understood that they were following the law and what they were allowing this teacher and other people in the school to do, advertising this stuff to our kids. And it was pretty clear to me in the meeting, they were confident that they had the law on their side until I started showing them the law, which is where I'm going with this right now. Once I started showing this to them, that's when the communication not only slowed down, but it eventually stopped. And so as we, one of the things I made sure they understood before I even sent them the first packet of 450 signed petitions, that was just a few days ago. I made sure they understood that I had a right to do that. So in the Colorado Constitution, Article 2, Section 24, it's our Colorado Bill of Rights, right to assemble and petition. It states that the people have the right peaceably to assemble for the common good, which is what we're doing right now. People are coming on and watching my video. We're assembling. There's a lot of ways that we can assemble. We also, to apply to those invested with the powers of the government for redress of grievances by petition or remonstrance. So what we are doing by the petition that I had people sign prior to the notice is we were assembling, we were petitioning our grievance and stating it clearly so that everybody was aware, including the district. And now we are moving forward, petitioning again, but using a lawful notice. So we're continuing to assemble a network through passing the petition around. And just so you know, it's still going around. I'm still getting signatures, and every 2 weeks, I'll be giving them to the district so they can see the longer they keep delaying, the longer I'm just going to keep networking out my message and I'm going to grow my support. The please take notice. Sandy
Hang on,
and
excuse me, real,
Jill, we
sorry,
doing
Matt.
good? You guys
Yeah,
want to
so
insert anything?
Actually, yeah, I'll, so right there, if we'll pause, because I know Sandy's got another question here that if we could interject for you, and then we'll
Yeah,
keep
so,
going.
so Matt, when you got with the people and you were getting this signatures for the petition, why did you and the people decide that it was necessary to give notice to your District 38 LPHS?
Well, the notice that we're giving them is because what they're doing is unlawful, and we're going to be explaining it here in just a moment. This is the next section we're moving into, but what I was able to discover through just kind of understanding from Dave through the teachings and working with you and Jill as well, just understanding how to look at the Constitution with a different lens, a different way of filtering what you're looking for in a particular grievance. How do you pull the things out and extract them properly and then articulate them? And what I found is, Dave would know this better than me, but I think Colorado might have the best religious freedom paragraph of all the states, because there's a key word that I haven't seen. And I haven't looked at all 50 of the constitutions yet, but in the ones I've already gone through, I've yet to see this word. And we're going to be talking about the word licentiousness in just a moment. So it was very clear to us that they were breaking the law based on our own state constitution, and we just needed to show this to them to give them a chance to see it themselves and go, wow, we need to retract on this, don't we? And my answer would be, if they would ask that, yes, let me help you do this. So, because I know this position you're in, it's not comfortable and it makes you look like a hypocrite, but you're not. I mean, sometimes you find things out later and you have to change your course. You have to change your decision. This is what parents do all the time. We make mistakes. We have to sometimes go, I screwed up, but let me fix this and make it right, because that's what a good leader does. So,
Yeah.
so
Good
anyway,
point.
anything else you guys want to talk about, or does that kind of answer your question, Sandy?
Yeah, sure. Let's just go on with the notice and get to that description
Okay.
and understanding of that word.
Okay, so please take notice that the people have guaranteed constitutional right to exercise and enjoy their religious freedom and profession, worship without discrimination, and exposure to lascivious acts. You swore to protect my rights and that of my liberty interest, my children, and as a public servant, you must uphold the fundamental laws in order to keep good government. Please show in the Colorado Constitution where you were given the authority to propagate LGBTQ+ and transgender ideology in its various forms with varying lascivious methods, and excuse acts of licentiousness or justify practices inconsistent with the good order, peace, or safety of the state. And the evidence for this statement that we made in the notice is right below. This is directly out of the Colorado Constitution, Article 2, Section 4, our paragraph on religious freedom. The free exercise and enjoyment of religious profession and worship without discrimination shall forever hereafter be guaranteed, and no person shall be denied any civil or political right, privilege, or capacity on account of his opinions concerning religion. But the liberty of conscience, hereby secured, shall not be construed to dispense with oaths or affirmations, excuse acts of licentiousness, or justify practices inconsistent with the good order, peace, or safety of the state. No person shall be required to attend or support any ministry or place of worship, religious sect, or denomination against his consent, nor shall any preference be given by law to any religious denomination or mode of worship. Now, I want to go back into this because I've spent a lot of time teaching and explaining and breaking some key aspects of what we just read down, and I'll get to the Black's Law Dictionary definitions below in just a moment. But the part where it says, on account of his opinions concerning religion, in other words, we can't be denied our right there, okay? I don't know if you could highlight that for us, Jill.
Yeah, thank you.
Just to the right,
yes.
there you go, perfect, right there. So on account, when it says on account of his opinions concerning religion, those of us that have different religious denominations that we believe in, or I'm Catholic, for instance. I have friends that are Baptist. I have friends that are non-denominational. When we have an opinion on religion, that can even vary within the religious sect that we belong to. You know, there's some Catholics that believe that it's okay to compartmentalize abortion and still vote, you know, in favor of people that are okay with that. You know, that's their opinion concerning religion. You know, whether they have to deal with the consequence with God later, that's between them and God, but it is their opinion concerning their religious beliefs, whether they want to choose to accept that or not. The only reason I use that as an example is because we have different opinions on our religious beliefs, and so on and so forth with different religious denominations and their beliefs that their people learn from them. But the point is that our opinions are what we hold that can't be discriminated against. And so if in my faith tells me not to put myself intentionally in a position to be tempted by something that would encourage an action on my part that could move me away from God, then I don't do it. And that would also mean, because that is part of my religious faith, that would also mean that I have a responsibility as the parent of my children, who's, you know, and my kids are on loan from God. You know, my job is to protect them and to teach them how to love and get to know the Lord. I can't do that if I'm constantly saying it's okay for groups of people to subject my daughter to temptation. And that's where my issue with the school is that they're subjecting her and other classmates of hers to the temptation to sin, which pulls them away from God, and it threatens their soul. So I not only have a lawful right in this section of our Constitution, I have a moral obligation as a man and as a father of my children to protect them from this. So if you continue to read on right after opinions concerning religion, it states the liberty of conscience hereby secured. Our liberties are our freedoms, and our conscience is what we choose to believe and think. It's our underlying. It's the ice under the water, the iceberg. It's everything we think and believe, which again relates to our opinions on religion, concerning religion. When we say they're hereby secured, it means you can't touch them. They're untouchable. And yet we are being told we have to allow people to be able to touch those rights and take them away and tell us that we can't do anything about it. That's unacceptable. So this is my grievance, but it gets worse. Let's continue on. Where it says, excuse acts of licentiousness. What it's referring to here, because I know we're kind of jumping into the text from where we originally read, because it's a long statement with semicolons breaking it up. But the infringement on our religious beliefs would be someone excusing acts of licentiousness. Okay. The word licentious, if you go down below the paragraph to where it says Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition, the definition of licentiousness is the indulgence of the arbitrary will of the individual without regard to ethics or law or respect for the rights of others. Also, lewdness or lasciviousness. Now that's the big one. When you look at the word lasciviousness and then you go into Black's Law Dictionary and look up lascivious, the definition is tending to excite lust, lewd, indecent, obscene, sexual impurity, tending to deprave the morals in respect to sexual relations. Licentious. Everything that's going on with this movement is encouraging these things. It's sexual impurity. It defiles what God has set forth for a man and a woman. And now they're encouraging our kids by casting out a net over the entire school, trying to pull kids in. It's unacceptable and it's unlawful. But there's something else I want to mention here that's important, if I can, Jill and Sandy.
Sure.
Is that I've had some people ask me, you know, do you hate gay people? You know, because it sounds like I'm going after gay people. No, I'm not. I'm not going after gay people at all. I have friends from my past, jobs I've had, coworkers I got to know that were gay. I never had a problem with them personally, but once if lines were crossed where things were unethical or immoral, then it deserved a conversation. And that's kind of where we're at. I have nothing personally against anybody for anything, but I have every right to judge actions. That's what our Lord did. When he came, he didn't judge people, but he judged what they were doing because he cared and he wanted their souls to be redeemed so he could get them into heaven with his Father. And this is what we're doing here. Now, people may not want that and they may reject it, but people they've rejected all the prophets, not just Jesus. People rejected them, and that's their choice. It's their consequence for doing that. It's not our job to play, judge and jury while we do this. Our job is to bring them truth and let them make a decision. But when it comes to our children, we do have a responsibility to protect, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
Sandy and
good.
Bill, do you guys want to insert anything here, or do you have any questions?
Yeah, Matt, I found you a little nugget since we're in the learning, educating mode. You said you made the comment that you didn't read all 50 constitutions, and what came to mind is I remember when Jill and I were writing school board notices 3 years ago. I remember Arizona in Article 2, Section 12 has this in their Bill of Rights. The title of Section 2 is the liberty of conscience, appropriateness for religious purposes prohibited, and religious freedom. Now let me read it to you, and you'll see the similarities as Jill has on the screen with regard to what you have in Colorado. And Arizona was one of the close to the end of the last states being added. So look at the closeness of the language. The liberty of conscience secured by the provisions of this Constitution shall not be so construed as to excuse acts of licentiousness or justify practices inconsistent with the peace and safety of the state. No public money, and you're talking about the schools, right? No public money or property shall be appropriated for or applied to any religious worship, exercise, or instruction, or to support of any religious establishment. No religious qualification shall be required for any public office or employment, nor shall any person be incompetent as a witness or a juror in consequence of his opinion of matters of religion, nor be questioned touching his religious belief in a court of justice to affect the weight of his testimony. So there you can see that word licentiousness is in there, and how it also contains the definition, which brings in the word of lasciviousness. I just wanted to share that.
Sandy, I'm so glad you brought that in, because I have not read the Arizona State Constitution other than just hearing Dave reference so many things in it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was Arizona the 46th or 47th state?
They were close to the end, and I don't remember the number. I wish I could remember that off the top of my head.
They definitely pulled from Colorado's constitution and liked some of those things that were there and brought that in. But for the people viewing our video, if this is like a first touch on all this stuff we're explaining, taking them into why we're mentioning the Arizona State Constitution. When I first started learning from Dave, I was a little confused. Why are we talking about all these other states when I'm in Colorado? It's like,
exactly.
I could, and I knew where Dave was from. So, once he started getting outside the realm of his own state, I'm like, why is he talking about this when it hasn't even been identified what states everybody's from that's listening in on the class? But then someone asked the question, and it's, that's what he was waiting for, which is, can we pull in another state's constitution? And what's the answer to that, Sandy?
Of course you can't, because if it's not written in ours, and if it's in another state constitution, we have that inherent right to use it.
Exactly. And for people that are watching the video, if you're kind of wondering what we're talking about here, if you go to the US Constitution, this is in Article 4, Section 2. And I will read this to you because I have it pulled up on my phone here, but I pretty much have it memorized at this point. There's a short paragraph at the beginning of the section, which is what we're getting to here. It says, the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all the privileges and immunities of the citizens in the several states. So what that means is that if there's a right of a citizen in one state, let's just say Arizona. So Arizona's constitution has even a deeper religious freedom right for the people of any state. And so me being in Colorado, using my constitution to fight my issue here at home, I can also pull, and I will eventually in the next notice, I will pull in from Arizona their constitution as well. And I will reference the US Constitution, explaining and educating my board and district on how I have that right to use that. So, this is a huge lesson on the Constitution. I'm learning it, but I'm also sharing and teaching them as well. So this is where our schools have kind of failed us. But again, we can't point the finger at them. We're all responsible for this. It's our fault. And
Mhm.
so I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just trying to educate them, and I'm hoping they want to listen, because the consequences for not upholding your oath and going against the people's rights are pretty serious consequences. And I don't want to see anything bad to happen to anybody. I want everyone to end up in heaven and enjoy their life and pursue their happiness here. So I hope that all makes sense to our viewers.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. Both of you, very good. And if I may add just one small thing, although it's a huge thing, is that, we are the people across all 50 states as Americans, right? And we are a constitutional republic. And that's what makes this so beautiful. Our founders designed, our government in that way. We elect our servants. We are not a democracy. We've been hearing that for months to years now. We're hearing it from the federal level, and we really need to make that correction because we are a constitutional republic and we elect our servants. We do not have rulers over us. We, the people, have that all political power. And so that's what Matt is bringing forward in this notice, and it's just really powerful. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that the people can utilize the bills and Declaration of Rights in all 50 states. Our founders were brilliant. We're thankful across the whole union that we can utilize some of these stronger words to bring forward the emphasis that we need to with whatever grievance it might be, and just to educate. So if we can move along, Sandy, we've got another question though for Matt here too. If
Yeah,
you could bring that to us.
yeah, so Matt, when the notice that you have or any other notices to come, when can these be given or served? The terminology we use with the notices, we serve notices to an elected official, any elected official.
So your question is, when can they be served?
Yeah. Is
I
there
guess
a
I'm
is there a limitation? Is there a specific time that can only happen or?
not that I'm aware of. No. The notices can, any one of the people can sign them. You don't have to be from my district. You don't have to be from my state. Um, we're a Republican form of government. So that's based on Article 4, Section 4 of the US Constitution. So again, all people in the 50 states, that's what we've been sending our petitions out as well. A concern of a citizen anywhere in the United States is the concern of all the citizens. Because, if evil is going to be popping up somewhere and we're concerned, we have a right to say something about it. We don't have to just necessarily reside in that state. As far as when the notices can be served at any time and at all times, not just every 4 years at the ballot box. Because this is kind of where we're all stuck right now, is that people that have been willing to bring up grievances in email, or send letters to elected officials or to their school boards or go to meetings, they're just, a lot of times we're getting ignored and you get stuck there. And the irony, I think, that's important for everybody to understand is our founders got stuck there too. They things were maybe good for a period of time, and all of a sudden things were starting to get worse, and then they got bad. And so they started drumming up the courage to write up their grievances and respectfully share them with the king. But then the king just ignored it,
Mhm.
and the people weren't getting redress on the grievances. And so they kept sending more and more notices and more letters, and that's where they got hung up, and eventually it led to a war. But the beautiful thing is our founders were wise enough people that after the war was over and we had that established freedom, they finished drafting the Constitution in such a way that they gave us this ability to keep ourselves out of a war. But it required us to understand and learn the Constitution. And what's happened over the last 200 and some years is that it's been hidden. We haven't learned it. We haven't taken the interest in it. And then all of a sudden 2020 hits and we're just getting smoked with mask mandates and then vaccine mandates. And Now we have LGBT stuff pushing in the schools and no one can stop it. Well, we can, but we just don't understand what the remedy process has been. And this is what I feel blessed that Dave has been given to you and you're giving and sharing with me, and Dave is as well, is that there is a process and it's peaceful. That's the beautiful thing. It doesn't require
Right.
anyone getting hurt or getting in trouble or going to jail or prison. I mean, but our elected servants have a job. They have a job to do, and they think that for some reason, by running for their office that they got into, once they got there, they would have this power to do good things or maybe bad things, whatever their intent was, but they had no power at all. But the problem is that the people that have the power don't understand what they have, then a person can run rogue with it, and that's what's been happening. So again, this notice is to also educate the people, all of us, on what our rights are and what our power is. And what reserving rights means is that I'm not happy with the business of my school district, so I'm taking all the rights I lent to you to be responsible with, and I'm taking them back. They're mine now. And if you can't do the job and run the district right, I'll do it for you, because I'm a business owner. I know how to be a boss. And when I got to take all the power back that I've kind of lent out to my workers to be respectful with and represent my business, and they're not handling it right, that's not a good day. And I don't just sit there and let it happen. That reflects on me. And so this is why I'm encouraging, people, especially men. Men have been quiet during all this mandate stuff. We got a job to do. I'm going to speak Bible for just a quick moment, but people tend to think from the basic schooling they've had that the first original sin was Adam and Eve eating the apple off the tree. The first sin was Adam standing idly by while his wife was being tempted by Satan over and over to break a rule that Adam had never thought of breaking or been tempted to. And then she gave in and he let it happen. He did nothing. He didn't try to confront Satan. He didn't try to convince his wife not to listen. He just stood there. And that was the sin. And here as men, what are we doing? Are we just sitting there watching, our children be attacked in schools? My wife was getting bullied by her employer during the vaccine mandate. As a strong husband, I stood up right away, and then I organized people to push back for everyone that was being bullied. I mean, we have a job to do. God wired men to be very specific to a role, and we need to find that again, because there's been an effort going on for decades to demasculinize men. And truthfully, it's worked. It's worked. In the county where I live, there are so many patriots here. And during COVID, most of the patriot pushback and efforts to organize were done by women. And I tell you, I was impressed. I was thankful. But my question as I was in these audience and then getting involved was, where's all the men? We've got to rally the men. We have women. We need you to push your men to the front of the line and say, get your butt out there and go fight for us. We love you. Now get going and don't come back until it's over. We need that kind of support. And it's not because women can't fight. Women are, I gotta tell you what, I've seen some mama bears in the last couple of years, scared the crap out of me. I hope they never meet my wife and give her any of those skills. I'd be in trouble at home. But in all seriousness, we need people to fight, and we need to reestablish all of our roles, and we need to get our families back, our churches back, but we need to get our country back. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here sharing this with everybody. And
well, Matt, yeah, we appreciate you sharing on that. We've got just a little bit yet with this notice. If we could wrap up with what you have, I think the key thing that we're going to touch on here is, this danger of maladministration that you've noticed in your district. And really, it's probably gone beyond the danger at this point. But if you could, will you go into that, please take final notice and what that section is there for us, and share that with us.
Absolutely. So in the final section of the notice, it says, please take notice that it is my wish, order, and demand that the District 38 board members, administration, and all staff immediately cease and desist allowing and or encouraging any and all such forms of LGBTQ plus ideology and any and all lascivious acts on our children, permitting any forms of solicitation, direct or indirect, intentional or unintentional, Furthermore, it is my wish that the board members individually acknowledge that they are elected trustees to the people and took an oath which binds them as trustees to always protect our rights, defending the Colorado and U.S. constitutions from any threat, both foreign and domestic. In addition, it is my order that the administration publicly acknowledge a cease and desist from all licentious ideology, immediately write policy to prohibit all such lascivious behavior on public school property, and to protect our children in their private religious rights and of conscience. If you believe any of the above claims are untrue, or that you have the authority to grant power to public trustees to exploit our children to such lascivious ideology, submit all responses by affidavit sworn under penalty of perjury within 5 calendar days of receiving this notice. Failure to respond means that by acquiescence, you agree all statements in this notice are true and will be considered maladministration. Additionally, you agree that you are acting with full intent, knowledge, and malice by trespassing on the people's rights, and no court shall be able to rehear this matter, but it shall stand as truth and facts in all courts of record. Please take notice that any person found suppressing this lawful notice communication between the people and government trustees agrees to pay the sum of $5,000 per infraction. This notice is sent to you in the peace and love of Christ, so that you provide due care to those who have all political power, the people. And then obviously at the bottom, there's a place for the people signing the notice to sign and to date. And that'll be electronically done through a platform that we use, that we send this out to people. So
Yeah.
hopefully that kind of sums everything up for those
It
that are
does.
listening. And Jill and Sandy, do you guys want to add anything in, or is there any other questions you want us to address?
I have one little thing that I wanted to add for you, Matt, that what you have brought to the people through this notice and through this video is that maybe what will happen is, instead of them, when they speak and say, I know my rights, or it's my right, hopefully that they'll learn from this notice and looking at their state constitution, what those specific rights are, and now be able to speak of that right by its name instead of just using a generic term. Because when they speak that I have religious freedom, that is a different term than saying I have a right to my religion. It makes a statement that they are now having some knowledge about what they own inherently that was given to them from God. So
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Sandy, because it's interesting. I'd like to share this because it's something that happened when I was meeting with the district officials. When I had my first face-to-face, it was with the district admin. It was the head of HR and the head of student services. And towards the end of the meeting, the head of HR, she said, I asked them, I said, what authority do you think you really have? Because obviously you feel you have some. I said, where are you getting this from, that it's okay for you to allow these teachers to do this? And so she pulled up an email on her laptop and read it to me from the district lawyer, which is on retainer with my money, by the way, just to be clear. The lawyer used some examples and analogies, and then went on to say, if we don't call them by a pronoun, then how do we know how to refer to them? And was, saying some things that to simple-mindedness could sound maybe accurate, but then he went on to say, and what's most important here is that we have to follow the law. And then there was another example, and then the email ended. And she looked at me and I said, okay, well, the lawyer made a reference to the fact that what's important here is we have to follow the law. And I asked her, I said, can you tell me what law he's referring to? And would you explain that to me? And she went back and looked at the email. Well, I knew it wasn't there, but she looked at the email and she said, well, it doesn't say. I said, well, I know it doesn't say. That's why I asked the question. And she said, she just kind of looked at me like, what do you want from me? And I'm like, well, did you think to ask him? You're the head of HR. Your job is to keep the district out of a lawsuit that's going to cost taxpayers, me, more money, potentially, if you come to try to collect it in some other way, like raising the school fees and things that you've been doing over the years. I said, I said, it's kind of an important thing to know if you're going to come to a meeting with a parent that you know is upset about an issue. And I said, when you go back to your lawyer, tell him I want to know what law, and I want a full detailed lawful explanation that he can give me from law school. And I said, and while he's at it, tell him that I'd like to know what law in the Constitution removes my daughter's right and liberty of conscience. So when you can do that, I'd love to have another meeting. Well, there hasn't been a follow-up on it. But what you just said is so true, Sandy. We can't just say, I know my rights, just like a lawyer can't just come to an argument and say, well, we have to follow the law. Okay, I mean, I get it, but what law are we talking about? Let's go a little deeper here, because you don't have anything and I do, and that's why you want to throw these loose words around as some ammunition that makes me feel like I'm inadequate because I didn't go to your law school. I don't need to go to your law school. I've met farmers that are smarter than people that have gotten educated, you know what I mean? So, it's, we need to learn how to articulate this battle, and we need to learn how to feel confident engaging with people that we feel might be more intelligent, because there's no such thing. When we have God on our side, who can be against us? We know that from the Bible. And when the Spirit enters us, we will know exactly what to say that we're not even prepared to say, and it will be perfect. And even if it's not, God will make sure it's heard perfect in the way because he can influence that. So I believe in that, and I've seen it so many times. So I'm
And
glad you
that's exactly what Dave Jose would say with regard to you're saying be specific about the law. He would basically say, show what's written. And Joe, what's the other thing that he always says? What's his little famous quote? Know what?
Yeah, no conversation without documentation.
So you must show where it's
Yeah.
written.
So
And
that's
that's what you asked them to bring you in that email, and you've not heard
right.
from them. So
And that's why it's important that, Matt, what you're doing here today and putting yourself out there, and I applaud you, and I echo what you said about our men. We need to lift them up. We need to prop them up and to equip them. It's just like anything. If we equip our children with the right tools, whether they're in a sport or whether a musical instrument or whatever it might be, when we equip them properly, they're going to be able to learn and become very dynamic and powerful in whatever it is that their calling is. And so you're bringing forward the law. We're showing it. It's very important. We're trying to be good stewards of what God has given to us, and we're thankful for it. We want to utilize this remedy because we've seen many victories across the Republic with using notices. And Sandy and I have been witnesses to many, many. And we've got a kind of win list going. So we'll provide that to Matt if anybody would like that. But Colorado is getting the fundamental law, and we're just thankful, Matt, that you can bring that forward. So if people want to find you, I've got a little something here, Matt. I'll share with them where they can find you for now. And we just hope that this video recording will be of help to people, and reach out to Matt. You'll be able to find him on Telegram right now. He's at Matt_Allner. So there's an underscore here, and then Allner. And then this is, and I'm going to hold this here for just a moment. This is the jot form notice. What the jot form is an electronic version of this notice that Matt just read. It's really, really handy because it utilizes a system that you can do an electronic signature. And so this is specific to the people that sign this. This is not spam when it goes out to our elected officials and you click that submit button. This is your voice going to the people, the entities that Matt has this going to. And that is on the notice when you click on whether you use this QR code. If you have your phone handy, you can scan it right now, or you can simply type this jot form link in, and that'll take you right to the notice. You'll be able to read it at your leisure. And if you choose to sign it, it'll be there. It'll also show you in the notice who this is going to. And Matt is going to follow up with the remedy process and his team of people. And so if you wish to get in touch with Matt for right now, that's how you can reach him. So get on Telegram. It's new to a lot of people, but it's very useful to work in private groups like Sandy and myself and Matt are doing right now, taking some of Dave's classes privately so we can learn in an atmosphere that's peaceful, and it's very useful because we can bring questions to the table. So you guys, I think we'll wrap it up. If there's no last things, Matt, we will conclude with a thank you to the people. Thank you for being patient and bearing with us and listening to what we had to bring today.
And one
Anything-
more thing that we just want to give you a little bit of a timeline to know when this is recorded, because you'll probably be watching it later than this date. It's May 12th, 2024.
Thanks for that, Sandy.
Thanks, Jill. Thank you,
You bet.
Sandy.
All
Sure,
right.
thanks.
Well,
Good seeing you all.
we'll maybe see you all again on another teaching video. Take care.